You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Right now at 7, the city of Lamar is working on locating a new water source. Also, kids in Miami, Oklahoma spent some time learning fire safety tips from first responders.
And after some heavy rain this morning, we're dealing with flood conditions and summer heat continuing to ramp up this weekend.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Elise Snowy.
And I'm Lindsay Gaffney. 7 o'clock on this fine Friday morning.
Yes, finally Friday. A little bit of a soggy start. I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
Yes, we will.
Absolutely. Well, the city of Lamar has begun drilling a second water well to help improve the town's water quality.
KOAM's Anthony Saviello has more.
Drilling the well provides several benefits. One's water quality. 2 is water flavor should improve, but also it lowers our treatment cost. It lowers the chemicals we have to put in to treat the water, lowering that cost and improving the water itself.
This well being drilled in Lamar is a part of a bigger $3 million project.
This is coming through state and federal funding through the ARPA program. So the city's portion is about $600,000 whenever you look at both projects together. We're also replacing water lines with this project. But we still think it's going to be a positive effect for our citizens.
This secondary well will allow the current redundant water source of Lamar City Lake to no longer be necessary.
We have to have a redundant water source to make sure we can provide our customers and our residents. Currently, we still are connected to the city lake, and our goal is to move away from the lake and provide only well water.
This drill uses air compression to dig into the ground. It is currently drilling at 50 feet an hour. The foam substance being ejected from the machine is what is used to bring the broken rock and dirt to the surface. Once it is all said and done, this well will be 1,200 feet deep. For reference, that's nearly the same height as the Empire State Building. Reporting in Lamar, Missouri, Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
For residents who may be concerned about the water quality, the city does an annual quality report, which you can find on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com.
When I heard that story the first time, he said, as deep as the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
That was shocking.
It really was.
Wow.
Quite impressive. They've got a lot of work to do, it sounds like.
Definitely a lot of work to do.
I don't know if that rain's going to be any help.
Well, maybe,
never know.
make the ground a little softer, but we're going to stay pretty dry, at
Yeah.
least for the rest of the evening. So maybe look at some work done this weekend. We've had storms that rolled through this morning, dropping some heavy rain, strong wind gusts, lightning, thunder. It was a pretty strong sounding storm out there, although we only had 1 or 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, so it wasn't too bad out there. Now, temperatures still in the upper 60s, low 70s out there. Winds gusting up to 25, 30 miles per hour behind the storm. So we're going to have a pretty windy day today, although we do dry out. Clouds are going to clear out here shortly as well following the storms. Then we're going to have a nice sunny day too. Now, we've had a flood watch, flood warnings, and flash flood warnings in especially the Kansas side of the border due to the heavy rain that just sat over that area for several hours. Few wind damage reports as well, and some hail damage reports in the northern counties. Strong storms started off early this morning, about 1 a.m. Then they turned into more widespread scattered thunderstorms in those central and southern counties before finally starting to shift off towards Springfield, Branson, Bentonville as well, out of the Joplin Metro. So we're looking pretty good for the next day throughout the evening hours. We do have more rain showers continuing tomorrow as well. Temperatures across the region, 73 out in Parsons, 75 in Independence, 74 in Nowata. So a lot warmer out in the western counties. They didn't get as much rain as the central and eastern counties got this morning. So they're going to warm up rather quickly. Like I said, we still got those wind gusts gusting up to 30, 35 miles per hour throughout the rest of the morning, continuing all day and before the storms tomorrow. We'll talk more about that in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, the victim in an unsolved California murder from 1985 is now linked to Lamar, Missouri. Authorities have released this sketch of an unidentified woman whose skeletal remains were discovered in Newark, California in 1985. They say she had been shot and killed up to a year before. She was between the ages of 25 and 36, was 5'6" to 5'8" inches tall, and had brown, red, or auburn hair. Now DNA testing shows the victim was a descendant of a former Lamar, Missouri resident, Marianne Marie Helms Thorburn Richardson, who was born in Lamar in 1932. Richardson is now deceased, and investigators say it's likely the victim was placed for adoption as an infant, possibly in the late 1940s. Investigators want to hear from anyone who has information about the adoption or the victim's identity. You can find much more about this case on KOAMNewsNow.com. Well, firefighters in Miami, Oklahoma hosted a fire safety class for local kids. The fire department brought trucks, firefighters, and fire pup to the library for the event called Adventuring into Fire Safety. The kids got another surprise when the Bureau of Indian Affairs wildfire team showed up with their own equipment and Smokey Bear.
You know, talking to kids about this, promoting this event, there are so many kids that have no idea really about wildfires, wildfire safety, that kind of thing. Nobody knows who Smokey Bear is anymore, that kind of thing. So I'm really excited to teach kids about this today.
The Miami Public Library's next event will be a Summer Lego League next Tuesday at 10 a.m. And those are our top stories this half hour. Coming up next, a group of cyclists are making their way across the nation. We'll hear from two of them on why they ride. We'll be right back, but before we head to break, here's a live look from Neosho, Missouri ahead of the Newton County Fair. Well, welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Now, a group of cyclists are biking across the U.S. to support MS. Now, we have two other riders here. We have Brian Winkler and Duncan Moore here with us to share a little bit about, what you guys are cycling for, as well as a reception that's going to be going on tonight. So welcome to you both. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. So talk to me a little bit about the purpose of this trip and kind of the quest that you guys are taking on.
Yeah, we're on a 3,785-mile journey. So we started in Yorktown, Virginia on June 16th.
Yeah.
It's been that long, no?
Yeah, and August 16th. And it's all a big fundraiser for MS. And some people want an adventure, and some people, like Brian, have a very personal connection with MS.
Absolutely. Would you mind sharing that?
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Yes.
So my wife was actually diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2011.
Oh, wow.
And at the time we had we still have two children, but our children were elementary, middle school age. And as a husband, I always feel like it's my job to fix things. That's what I do. I try to fix things, but I couldn't fix this. And my wife was recliner bound for about nine months, as she was trying to get settled out. So I was interested in cycling. I was doing cycling, and I saw at a bike shop where there was a chance to do a fundraiser to help people with MS, and I thought, that's something I can do.
Absolutely.
And that just kind of started that journey. And then here, 13 years later, I heard about going across the country and thought, hey, this is something that I can jump into.
Absolutely incredible, and probably very rewarding. I can imagine
absolutely,
as well.
yeah, for sure.
So talk to me a little bit about, this group, and you guys are going to be having a reception in Pittsburgh tonight. Talk to me about the members of the group a little bit, how many there are of all of you, and then the reception as well.
Yeah, so our group, we have 16 with us right now, 13 who are going the full way. We have 4 route leaders, and then everyone else is biking every single day and sleeping on church floors, or tonight we're at St. Mary's, sleeping in the gym. So we're just going. Yeah, and Gina Peak, she's been our host in Pittsburgh since 2009. And she's so great, we named an award after her. So we love being in Pittsburgh. We are treated very well. We have news with us every day. It's all like exciting stuff.
Yeah, it was really fun too, because when we entered the state, at the state line, Gina and some of her friends were at the state line.
Oh, wow.
And they were ringing the cowbells, and they were, cheering us on.
I'm sure that feels great.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it was great, especially after being out in the heat and everything else. So a lot of fun. It just seems to be a really good MS community here in Pittsburgh, and it's just nice for us to be able to come through and bring a little lift to that, bring some awareness to what is it like to live with multiple sclerosis and be part of that community.
Wonderful. Now this reception is going to be at St. Mary's Colgan Fieldhouse at 6:30 tonight. Again, thank you so much for being with us this morning and sharing a little bit about what the wonderful things that you're doing.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much for having us.
Stick around. We'll be right back.
Well, we started off the morning pretty stormy. We've had some stormy weather. Luckily, rain is out of here. Still might have some slick spots on the road out there. Rain is now heading towards Monette, Neosho now southeast. Branson's going to get some rain. Springfield's getting some rain, but we're looking pretty good, at least throughout the rest of today. Now, we do have more rain showers kicking in tomorrow morning as well. Not going to be as widespread as what we saw today, but it might help us cool down a little bit tomorrow. Today, we've got a minor risk out in Missouri for heat, and then out in Kansas and Oklahoma, a little bit more of a moderate risk. Tomorrow, we really start to ramp that up. Moderate risk for all of our counties and some patchy areas with a major risk of heat. That just continues to increase as we get through Sunday as well. Seeing that major risk for our central and northern counties. And then unfortunately on Monday, it doesn't stop there. We're going up to a major risk for all of our counties, and then even seeing some areas with an extreme heat risk. Monday is going to get up to upper 90s, even possibly reaching triple digits. So we're expecting heat advisories, especially throughout the rest of the weekend and into early next week. Luckily today, the heat index is only getting up to upper 90s. I know I said luckily, but when we move into next week, heat index is likely going to be 115 degrees or higher. Then we move into tomorrow. It's going to be a little bit less because we're not dealing with as high humidity values tomorrow afternoon. So we see heat index values only up to the mid 90s across the region. 94 in Joplin, 95 in Pittsburgh, 96 in Sedan and Nowata. A little bit warmer, 97 in Stockton and Nevada. Now this is just the heat index, so it's actual temperatures paired with humidity values. That's where we get that heat index value. We're also getting some stronger wind gusts today. We haven't really had a breezy day in quite some time. Winds gusting up to 30 miles per hour throughout the rest of the morning. They die down a little bit, 20, 25 miles per hour throughout the afternoon, and then they really start to ramp back up ahead of some rain showers that we have moving in tomorrow. So we're getting wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour ahead of the rain showers tomorrow. Might help us stay relatively cool, especially with the rain showers in the morning, but we're going to keep an eye on that. We've got the storms that are now shifting southeast of our area. We clear out, clouds move out relatively after that as well. Getting up to the mid to lower 90s today. Going to be pretty sunny as well. We move into early tomorrow morning. Got a few showers popping up in our southern counties, and then we see nice scattered thunderstorms continuing off to the east. Those are going to continue to move through in the early morning and early afternoon hours on Saturday before finally clearing out. We've got another nice afternoon on Saturday as well. Then we go through a few days of just sunny skies, pretty hot temperatures. We've got a nice heat wave moving in. A ridge forms over our area, bringing in that sinking air and warm air from the Gulf, which is why we're getting those really high temperatures in the triple digits. So this is actual temperatures. Then we pair that with humidity. Heat index values, especially Monday and Tuesday, are going to be pretty high. Expect some heat advisories. We do have a cold front moving through Wednesday and Thursday, dropping those temperatures back down to the 80s, and we'll look forward to that. We've got more after this.
A community center pops up in Las Vegas after members noticed a need for it.
But one company is keeping the unhoused community cool, hydrated, and fed during this heat.
We had a spare piece of wood out there and bought a can of spray paint.
And that's how the free water sign in front of Bruce Solutions came about.
And the neighborhood we're in, we're seeing a lot of people drop like flies because of the fentanyl and the heat.
That one sign now making a huge difference.
Stay hydrated, man. You know, we're getting a lot of water donations, so that's great. Just trying to keep the town hydrated during this heat wave.
Keith Courtney bought this building a year ago, naming it Bruce Solutions, offering medical, mental health, and other community resources by teaming up with healthcare workers.
We're here to serve you and to meet your needs. We just want to make sure that, especially in this heat, that people have a place to come, just a little bit of refuge, you know, and that we're meeting a basic need.
A need that is now being met with water.
We need some more water.
And a free meal.
And we do this on a daily basis. And that's why, you know, sometimes donations are, you know, welcome, because this is all free to the community.
Cooking up to 100 hot dogs a day.
Here you guys go. Most of all, just listening to the community and understanding their needs. Each community is different. Their needs are different, their problems are different.
A simple gesture that goes a long way.
Certainly great to see community members taking it upon themselves to help people in need. It's always a great sight to see.
It definitely is. I love, especially the water in this heat. It's necessary.
Oh, absolutely. Well, coming up, President Biden returns to the campaign trail after his visit with other NATO leaders.
And we did have some storms this morning. More rain chances kicking in tomorrow morning. We're also dealing with a heat wave moving in after that. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:25. I'm Elise Noe. Galesburg, Kansas will get some upgraded fire protection equipment thanks to a $5,000 grant from the Nutella company. KOAM's Melissa Alexis has more.
And all of this hose back here is hose that'll be replaced.
As a firefighter, your gear is one of the most important parts of doing your job. But like many rural volunteer fire departments, this Galesburg, Kansas fire department has not had access to updated equipment.
It was a little disheartening when I got here last year. Our average age of fire apparatus was 42 years old.
John Lilberg, the fire chief, says that the National Fire Protection Association recommends that fire hoses be replaced every 20 years. But some of the hoses at his station have been there as far back as the 70s and 80s.
The fire hose that we're using this grant to replace was from 1947, almost as old as me.
Recently, things are looking up for their department, as they've been offered a $5,000 grant from Nutella, a hazelnut spread brand. He says it's a big help considering their insufficient budget.
It's a godsend. We operate on less than $20,000 a year.
They're using the grant money to replace their outdated hoses and hopes to continue updating the equipment little by little in the future through other grants. Next on his list, he hopes to replace 2 old trucks.
It takes a huge weight off my shoulders that we'll have some safer equipment for them to operate with.
The chief is looking forward to being able to serve the community in a more efficient way and growing their department by recruiting more volunteers. Reporting in Galesburg, Melissa Alexis, KOAM News.
The fire chief says his work is not done yet. He's still working to upgrade the department and has submitted a new grant request to completely remodel the fire station. Well, fair season in the 4 states continues as the Jasper County Youth Fair gets into full swing in Carthage. Yesterday kicked off with a market steer show, and young exhibitors also had the chance to show off their sheep and pigs. These exhibitors have some advice for first-time showers at the fair.
Just have the most fun possible. It's a lot of fun to be here.
Make sure your animal is really well tamed, so that it won't get away from you or anything.
If you're interested in checking out the Jasper County Youth Fair, there's still time. The event runs through Saturday. And you can now visit the Webb City Farmers Market on Thursdays. The next 3 Thursdays, the market is open from 4 to 7 p.m. It has more than fresh produce. The market also offers board games, free kids meals, and an opportunity for kids to dig into some fun on the kids garden. For a $35 fee, you can also learn the art of flower arranging, and the Thursday hours will run only through August 1st. But the market is open every Tuesday from 4 to 7 p.m. through October 15th and is open every Saturday morning year-round. Now here's Lindsay with a look at the forecast.
Well, we have temperatures now starting to warm up into the lower 70s. It's finally starting to clear out from the rain. We do still have a few clouds in the area, overcast, but throughout the rest of the morning, that's going to clear out as well. We're looking to have a pretty sunny day ahead. Temperatures are going to get up to the lower to mid 90s today for a high, and winds are still going to be picking up 15, 20 miles per hour behind those storms. Now, We got a lot of rain, so we've got some flash flood warnings, especially Joplin, Pittsburgh, Baxter Springs, Carl Junction, and a few flood watches still in effect throughout the rest of the evening. That's due to all the heavy rain that just sat over the Kansas and Missouri border, mainly on the Kansas side, for a couple of hours this morning. Luckily, rain is starting to pass out of here. Temperatures are cooler as the rain passes. 68 in Neosho, 67 in Monette, but a little bit warmer out in the central and western counties. 71 in Joplin, 73 in Parsons, 75 in Independence. Now, like I said, we're getting up to the lower to mid 90s, but with all of the rain that we got this morning, and with the flooding still happening, evaporation still happening as the sun comes out, it's going to be a pretty hot, muggy day today with heat index values getting up into the upper 90s. So heat starts back today and continues through the rest of the weekend and early next week. And we'll have more details in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, President Biden says he intends to continue his campaign as he took questions from reporters last night. The president faced a crucial test in his efforts to reverse course after last month's debate sent his re-election efforts into a tailspin. Skylar Henry reports from the White House on the president's hour-long news conference.
President Biden held his first news conference since last month's debate set off a firestorm over his fitness for a second term in the White House.
So there's a long way to go in this campaign. And so I'm just going to keep moving.
After brief remarks, the president took questions from reporters, including CBS News chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes.
Have you spent time thinking about what it would mean for your legacy, which you've worked decades to build, if you stay in the race, despite the concerns that voters say they have, and you lose to someone who you yourself have argued is unfit to return to the Oval Office?
I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started.
Biden was asked about moves to cut the length of his workday in the debate's aftermath.
And if you look at my schedule since I made that stupid mistake in the campaign, in the debate, I mean, my schedule has been full bore. I've done, where's Trump been? Riding around in his golf cart, filling out his scorecard before he hits the ball?
Thursday's high-stakes event marks the end of NATO's Washington summit and his first solo news conference in close to 8 months. At a NATO event earlier today, President Biden verbally stumbled when introducing Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, but he corrected himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway.
Behind the scenes, senior campaign advisors met with Senate Democrats, trying to assure them the president can win in November. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
The president took more than 10 questions, and at one point in the news conference, Biden mistakenly referred to Donald Trump as vice president. After the event, Jim Himes, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, posted a statement on social media withdrawing his support for the president. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. A group in Minnesota is working to help homeless vets get back on their feet. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look from the fairgrounds in Newton County. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We got Shannon Becker with us live in the studio. to go over his big 3 news stories of the week. Good morning to you, Shannon.
Good morning, Elise. Let's take a look at the live and local stories that were keeping us busy this week. A hazmat fatality crash occurred on I-44 in Joplin. It closed down the highway for 9 hours, if you can believe it. And it just kind of snarled traffic all through 7th Street and Dunawig. It took hours for some people to get through. Now, they did open up the interstate after about 6 hours. They pushed everything off to the off-ramp. But, I mean, the hazmat, it was a corrosive. Something like that has to be treated correctly when they move it off the highway. They had to put it back into another truck, etc. But more details on that crash as the Joplin Police Major Crash Team continue their investigation. Our number 2 story, Joplin News First, another fatality. This time it was Monday in Oklahoma. A man on the highway was struck by multiple vehicles. It's unknown how many really that he was struck by. They're actually still seeking more information if anybody has any information. It happened about 4 a.m. It was 3 to 4 miles from the Missouri state line. They had to close the highway. That's like 3 miles of backed up traffic there. They closed it at the state line, Missouri and Oklahoma.
But multiple times.
Yeah, it was very, very tragic.
Yes, absolutely.
Our number 1 story, KOAM News Now, another tragedy. Douglas Fir Road this last Friday. A lady was weed eating in her yard and a alleged DWI driver swerved off the roadway, struck and killed her, left the scene. We were there as they were investigating that crash till late in the night, and then they sent out a bolo. Be on the lookout, looking for a pickup truck, which was located, thanks to tips the next morning, in Carterville. The man is actually from Racine, but was at a friend's house, had gone over there, and it's all online. You can read more about it, what the police say. Still that next morning, he blew over the legal limit, according to paperwork.
Wow. And he's now facing multiple charges.
Yes, in fact, DWI with death involved. And then our bonus story of the week, there's a GoFundMe now online for a family of 6 who lost everything in this intense house fire. Kansas State Fire Marshal is investigating actually what occurred. The house is completely gone, as you can see here in our videos. Wow. No one was injured inside the home, but they did have 4 firefighters that suffered injuries due to the heat and the extreme heat. And it's going to be another warm one today. I know that Lindsay's been talking about that. I avoided floating away this morning.
I know.
You did?
I did as well. Some of the video that Shannon was showing me was
my gosh, it was crazy.
I could not believe it.
It was like 7 feet deep at Dover Hill as you go into the railroad pass. It's crazy. But just as fast as it goes up, it goes down.
Right.
So we've got that on our website. You can take a look at it.
Absolutely. All right, Shannon. Well, thank you so much, as always, for being with us this Friday morning. Stick around. We're back with more right after this.
We've had quite heavy rain this morning and some flash floods and flood warnings in Cherokee County, Crawford County, and Jasper County as well. Rain is still moving out of here. Still pretty cloudy out there, 7th and a range line, and some of the roads may be slick, especially in some of those flood areas. Now, rain has shifted off to the east. We're looking pretty good. Clouds are following not far behind the rain. After that, we're going to have a mostly sunny day today. Temperatures are getting up to the lower 90s, and humidity values, due to all the rain and flooding, are going to be pretty high. So it's going to be a pretty muggy day today. Adding to the temperatures, heat index value is going to be in the upper 90s. Not too bad, especially out in the eastern counties, only a minor risk, but on the western counties, that moderate risk, they didn't get as much rainfall this morning. So their temperatures are going to warm up just a little bit more than in the eastern counties. So we move through tomorrow, moderate risk for all of our counties, and then even those spotty major heat risks as well. That increases through Sunday with a major heat risk all through our northern and central counties. And unfortunately, it just gets even hotter on Monday, temperatures reaching triple digits. Heat index values likely above 110 degrees, so it's going to be pretty hot on Monday. Major risk all around with some extreme risk, especially out in the western counties. Temperatures today getting up to, heat index values, today getting up to upper 90s, 98 in Joplin, Pittsburgh, 96 in Independence, 100 in Nowata, and 102 in Sedan. So we'll likely start to see heat index values in the triple digits over the next several days. Heat advisories and excessive heat warnings are not far behind that, especially Sunday through Tuesday. We move through tomorrow, it's going to be a little more dry than what we're seeing today. So the temperatures, heat index values only getting up to mid 90s. Not as bad. This is going to be right around what the actual temperature is going to be tomorrow, since we're not seeing high humidity values. We also have some pretty strong wind gusts as well, 30 miles per hour out in Fort Scott, Nowata. Dies down a little bit in the early afternoon hours, down to 20, 25 miles per hour, but it really spikes back up ahead of some marine showers that we have moving in tomorrow morning as well. So winds start to kick back up 35, 40 miles per hour late tonight and then early into Saturday as well. Like I said, we do have some rain showers continuing into the morning hours on Saturday after our rain and clouds move out today. Mostly sunny skies all day long, but like I said, we've got a few showers kicking back off early Saturday morning, especially out in our western and southern counties, Parsons, Bonita. That's going to be moving into Nevada, Webb City, Carl Junction, Joplin through the early morning hours on Saturday, 9 a.m. It's going to continue on pretty isolated. The reason it's not going to be as high humidity tomorrow, even though we're getting rain, is because it's not as widespread as what we saw today, and it's not going to be as heavy rainfall as what we saw today either. After that, we dry out. We've got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, sunny skies, temperatures getting up into the triple digits. Luckily, we've got another cold front moving through Wednesday and Thursday, dropping those temperatures back down to the mid to lower 80s. It's going to be a nice change of pace. Now let's go over to
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, the world's population may peak before the end of the century. That's according to a Thursday population report from the United Nations. It forecasts global population will continue to grow from the current 8.2 billion people to nearly 10.3 billion around 2080. But the UN is projecting after that peak, the global population will begin to fall. According to the report, that's partly because fertility rates around the world are dropping quicker than expected. It notes that the global fertility rate is currently 2.25 births per woman. That's one child less per woman than in 1990. This year's summer heat is breaking records. According to the EU's Copernicus Climate Change Service, June was the 13th consecutive month to break a global heat record. And more than half of the U.S., some 175 million people faced extreme heat on July 4th. Scientists say heat waves are becoming the new normal. And here in the U.S., this June was the second warmest in the NOAA's 130th year record. According to the National Centers for Environmental Information, last month ranked in the top 10 warmest Junes on record for 20 states. The 2024 Paris Olympics are just about 2 weeks away, and we now know all of the athletes representing the U.S. at the Games. Nearly 600 athletes across 31 different sports will be sporting the red, white, and blue flag colors. The athletes' ages range from 16 years old to 60 years old, with 32 of them being teens. There are more women than men, 314 to be exact. The contestants come from 46 out of the 51 states, with Maine, North Dakota, West Virginia, and Wyoming being the only ones not to send anyone. And the state sending the most athletes, well, California holds that honor. Nearly 1 in 5 athletes on the team are from California. The 2024 Paris Olympics kicks off July 26th. That's a look at the nation's top headlines. We're back with more after this. Veterans who had been living on the street now have a new home in St. Paul. It's part of the effort by the Minnesota Assistance Council for Veterans to end homelessness.
Reg Chapman was there for the ribbon cutting.
Are we really
2, 3, cut!
After 2 years of renovation work, 2 buildings that sat vacant for years on Larpenteur Avenue in St. Paul will now house unsheltered veterans. WCCO was there when the interior work began on Arlington House almost 2 years ago. Apprentices from Carpenters Union Local 332 did the work. Some are part of the Helmets to Hardheads program that gives veterans another way to serve in the trades after their military service. MACV leaders say this project is a vortex of goodwill. Lots of local businesses and nonprofits help to make this possible. 10 units, all with their own design, 5 of them handicap accessible to help veterans with mobility issues.
When I first walked in, the first thing I noticed was the kitchen size.
Above the second building sits a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment.
Just the space, me walking through here, sometimes I feel I might get lost. I might have to leave breadcrumbs down to find my way around.
Army veteran Benton Robinson and his family will call this place home.
As a parent, that's the most important part for me because, I'm able to keep a roof over their head, and you know, they have space. It's a safe neighborhood.
This veteran appreciates the work MACV does to end veteran homelessness.
Without MACV, you know, I don't know where I would be. I'm just very grateful.
Even more grateful for the Michelet Foundation, whose generous donation made all these renovations possible.
It's just nice to know that when you come home, if you do fall on hard times, that, you know, it's people out here that got your back.
In St. Paul, Reg Chapman, WCCO News.
It's great to see people making efforts to support those who have served us.
Yes, I have veterans in my family. I live next to two really amazing men. They are veterans. They're awesome. So it is really amazing to see people who go out of their way to do that.
Absolutely.
Well, weather is looking pretty good now. We had some storms this morning, but starting to clear out. Clouds not far behind it. Still got some flooding issues to deal with, so we'll keep an eye on that for the rest of the day. Today we're getting up to low 90s. Heat index values in the upper 90s due to the humidity. Tomorrow got a few more rain showers in the morning. Temperatures getting up to mid 90s, and then we really start to see the heat ramping up end of the week and into early next week with triple-digit temperatures and heat index values likely above 110 degrees. Got a cold front moving in midweek next week. Looking forward to that as temperatures drop back down to the mid to lower 80s. All right, we'll have more after this.
And here's your check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The victim in an unsolved California murder from 1985 is now linked to Lamar, Missouri. Authorities have released this sketch of an unidentified woman whose skeletal remains were discovered in Newark, California in 1985. DNA testing shows the victim was a descendant of Marion Marie Helms Thorburn Richardson. Investigators want to hear from anyone who has information about the case or the victim's identity. Well, Nutella, the company known for its hazelnut spread, gifted the Galesburg, Kansas Fire Department a $5,000 grant. The fire chief plans to use the money to replace an old fire hose. He also shares that he is not done and plans to apply for more grants to help update the firehouse. And the Parsons, Kansas School District needs school bus drivers. Interested residents were able to try their hand at driving a bus in a safe, controlled environment. Officials say this is a way to help remove some of the fear and intimidation that may keep people from applying to become bus drivers.
Well, we've also had some storms that passed by, leaving us a few flood warnings and a flash flood warning for Crawford County, Cherokee County, and Jasper County. That's for Pittsburgh, Joplin, Baxter Springs. All of those areas are dealing with some pretty flash flood warnings. We've also got clouds clearing out, temperatures getting up to the lower 90s, and high humidity values, so it's going to be pretty hot, pretty muggy, but at least it'll be sunny.
With the rain from this morning and those hot temperatures, I just knew it was going to be muggy. And there's nothing worse than that humid air in the air. So
well, we'll dry out tomorrow. Okay. So it won't be too bad tomorrow if everyone wants to look forward to that. Okay. Hold on to that a little bit, and then it'll be okay.
All right. Thanks, Lindsay. Well, the sand dunes of Chile's Atacama Desert are the driest on the planet and have been blanketed by white and purple blooms. In recent days, after early rains caused flowers to spring up in the dead of the southern hemisphere winter.
The Atacama has been dubbed the flowering desert, with resistant seeds and bulbs enduring the harsh weather to pop up as flowers every few years in the spring. But recent heavy rains have caused them to bloom early.
Certainly beautiful.
Hey, there is a good example of rain, and that it's good.
Yeah,
we like the rain.
It is good.
We don't love the muggy air.
I just didn't bring my rain boots this morning.
Oh no. Well, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning, and we'll be back with more news and weather at noon.
Have a great rest of your morning.